All right, so we're gonna just go over how to create those pommes d'ambre. Remember the little story in the Middle Ages? Those ornaments were used as a natural air freshener. People didn't have Lysol and sprays like we do today, and things were a bit smelly. So aristocrats and royalty were usually the only ones who could buy spices because they were very, very expensive. They had to bring them from exotic countries, and they were very rare. So only the rich could afford them. So if you had an orange or spices, that was considered a luxury and a rare treat. And that's why children, if they'd been good, would receive an orange or a bag of nuts as candy for Christmas or for the celebration of St. Nicholas, the patron saint of children, celebrated on December 6th. So these are some examples of what you could create. And yeah, it doesn't look fancy, but back in those days, that's the decorations they created with what they could, and you can actually make them quite fancy and pretty. If you want something that smells good, that is all natural, organic, and that you can eat later, this is the right Christmas decoration for you. So this is a little bit of background information on the spices. Other spices commonly used back then and often around Christmas season are cinnamon, anise, and nutmeg. So, clove is actually the center of a flower. If you look at this here, you realize that without the petals, this is what it looks like. That's the center part, and it's dried up, and this is clove. And anise, star anise, is a flower. It's actually almost prettier when it's dry than when it's natural. This is how it looks like. You can buy it whole or just the little grains at the store. And all that you can find in the spices section. And cinnamon is actually the bark of a tree. They scrape off, as you can see right here, they scrape off the bark of that cinnamon tree. And that is all those spices that we use in the fall in America. They typically call those pumpkin spices or apple cider spices. But this is the mix, the blend you'll need for the Christmas season, right? So to do the decorations, you will need a whole fresh orange. You will need a chopstick or a sharp thin stick to make a hole through the orange. You will need a piece of ribbon around 2 feet. I mean, it depends how fancy you want to make the knot underneath. Some of those knots can get quite fancy. You can leave it longer. And then you need a bag of whole cloves. Okay, that's clavo entero. If you speak Spanish, you can find that in the spices section of either a Hispanic or Anglo supermarket. They're pretty easy to find. So, what you're going to do, you start with the orange and the stick. You're going to push the stick through from the stem of the orange. You can find the stem, that's the natural entry point of the orange, and that'll go easier. Just be careful not to put your hand on the back when you push in so you don't poke your hand as you do that. So you're going to push the stick through the orange, and then you're going to pull the stick out. So now you have a hole in the center of your orange. You're going to position the ribbon at the tip of the stick. Think of like a needle and thread. You're gonna kind of guide that ribbon through the hole, but you need to push it with the stick, otherwise it's kind of hard to put it through, right? So you're going to push the ribbon through the hole, then you can remove the stick. You don't need it. If it's kind of gooey and yucky, the top of the ribbon, you can wash it with water and soap. But the top is going to be your hanger. So at the bottom, you're going to create a nice little bow. You can just tie it in a knot. If you know how to do fancier knots than this, you can definitely do that. So the top part is just a little hook to hang it. And now you get to get creative. You can just put some cloves throughout your orange to make it nice and pretty. You can make it fancy or just simple. You can put letters, geometric patterns, smiley face, whatever pattern you want. And some people also, I didn't have time to do that, but some people also carve through the skin of the orange to make other designs. You can do that as well. And you now have a beautiful, natural, uh, very nice smelling decoration. It smells delicious. And you have your medieval air freshener and your antique Christmas decoration. The cool thing about it is that it's natural. You can eat it if you want later on. Uh, it's perfectly safe. You can just peel it off, but I don't recommend biting into the cloves. They are safe. They're not toxic. but they taste kind of bitter. So you might want to make sure you remove the skin and the cloves. And there you go.